Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. and serves as the city's policymaking and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rule of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. By city ordinance, all remarks must be addressed to the City Council as a body and not to any City Council member, including the mayor. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City Government.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, March 14th. And we'll start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Selberg.
Here.
Starr.
Present.
Staley.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzert.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Councilors, thank you so much for being here tonight. Appreciate it. In the City of Sioux Falls, we lead our City Council meetings with an invocation. And we're very, very pleased to have Pastor Calvin Vermoon of the Center of Hope here. He will lead us with that invocation. What we'd ask is that you stand and then please remain standing after the pastor is done with the invocation for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Calvin, welcome.
Thank you. Join with me in prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we gather here this evening and we ask, Lord, that your presence would be in this place, that you would lead and guide the decisions that are made here this evening, that they might give honor and glory to you, as well as the fact that they might benefit many in this city. Give us wisdom, give us your leading, and most of all, give us joy as we serve you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hmm.
Council, thank you. We do have some special guests in the room. We've got the American Heritage Girls of Troop 1268 are here, so welcome. Good to have you here. And just curious, did you have any comments for the people of our town? Please come forward. And just introduce yourself, please, and then tell us what you're here for.
My name is Julia Bergerman. My name is Lydia Christian, and we are here just for a badge requirement for our city. And yeah, so
Just kind of see what it's about. So
yeah, we're interested.
Well, thank you very much for being here, and let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Council, now we're going to move to our consent agenda. And I do know there's some items that you'd like to discuss. Councilor Staley.
Mayor, I would like to pull the following items from the consent agenda and have them considered immediately after agenda item number 9. and that would be the public parking professional services agreement for $48,200. Public parking First Avenue storm drain relocation, $16,845. And the public parking to provide bond counsel services for proposed parking, public-private development of the city-owned parking structure for $25,000.
Councilors, thank you. There's been 3 items that Councilor Staley would like to review later on. Are there any other items, Council? Could I get a motion to approve the other items, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Okay. Council Vice Chair Kiley's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson, Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Councilors, thank you. That has passed 8-0. Our regular agenda, any changes to that?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Salberg.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve our regular agenda, seconded by Councilor Selberg. Any discussion on that? Yes, Councilor Staley?
Okay, I would like to make a motion to amend the regular agenda by placing item 8 after item 4.
Second, Erpenbach.
It's been a motion to place item 8 after item 4. That has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson, Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That has also passed 8-0. Thank you. I will now vote on the amended motion.
Councilmember Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson, Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, councilors. Appreciate it. Folks, welcome. Not only do we have the troops 1268 here, which we're very pleased by, but the rest of you are here too, so thank you for being here. This is a great opportunity for you to engage the council on really any topic that is of importance to you. If it is an agenda item later on, we'd ask you to wait for that item. But other than that, just come forward. 3 things. Just introduce yourself to the people of our town. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And we'd ask you to have your comments be towards the council as a whole, not towards one individual person. So welcome.
Greetings. My name is David Zokaitis, and don't forget, greetings, citizens. I have an announcement here. As you can see, I'm going to campaign for mayor of Sioux Falls. Now, this is kind of, my coming to this decision has been kind of more obvious to other people than it has been to me, because a couple of months ago, people were coming up to me and saying, so when are you going to run? And so when are you going to run? And so when are you going to run? So I finally decided maybe that's a good idea. So here I am. I'm going to campaign for mayor of Sioux Falls. And my basic premise is straightforward and simple. And there it is. That's what government should be all about. It should be government for we, the people. Perfect idea. I've looked around at things going on in the world, and I see too much of this kind of problem. I see government secrecy on various levels of government, and state government and federal government, maybe even city government. I see some unwise spending and too many prisons and militarized police. So instead of just being content with all of this stuff, I figure maybe we should replace it with something better. If the government, maybe at the federal level, is building too many bombs, maybe we should build a few or less. And we should try to reduce crime and take better care of our planet and have more fair civil rights and better government in general. And I'd also, as mayor, I have some ideas that maybe we could implement here. I'd like to share power and share responsibility with council members a little more than maybe is done now. Currently, the mayor officiates the meetings, but it doesn't have to be that way. I'd like to take turns. There's 8 council members and 1 mayor. We could officiate 1 meeting or 1 month out of 9, make things more democratic. I want to work together with the councilors and with the citizens. So I'm going to make a request here, and that would be for all of you to review my draft campaign flyer. I figure we'll be working together, and we might as well start off a year in advance on the right foot, and you could let me know if I'm totally off the deep end or if I have some good ideas, and that way in the coming year we'll think about it and make better plans, and we'll be able to do some wonderful things for the city. So yes, it's time to dream, time to plan. The real question is, what can we reasonably hope to accomplish in 4 years? Emphasis on the word reasonably. We can't pave the streets with gold. We can't fix all the problems, but by golly, we have 4 years, budget of a whole bunch of zeros, 1,200 employees. We ought to be able to do quite a bit if we decide to dream and to plan. Short presentation tonight. Of course, got to wish everybody a good evening. We have to dream on for the coming year, and a cute little smiley face to end on a good note.
David, thanks for your willingness to serve. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. Thank you so much for hearing me. My name is Randa Heller. I've put in a couple calls to city councilors and 1 to the mayor's office. I feel strongly enough about this to come and engage you all. There was, through the Parks Department, a program called Summer Singers, and they also had a band program. When I went to call to get my granddaughter registered, I was told that there are budget cuts. Now, I wasn't sure what these budget cuts were going to look like. When I first called, it said it was in discussion. And after one of my council members called Parks Department, Alicia from the Parks Department called me back and said that these budget cuts, after much number crunching and after looking at the programs and the numbers, they had decided the 175 kids that were in the band program, where they utilized one of the public schools and the public school's instruments, would probably be taken over by the public school. But the 100 kids that had been in Summer Singers that John Mogan had been the director of, that had been about 75 kids last year, that program was going to be no more. When I asked her what number did they need and at what cost did they need it, because this program was $30 for quite a few weeks of 3 hours, 1 hour Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for these kids to come and sing. They did not have to audition, they just needed to sing. In fact, they had this cute little number that they did at the Terrace Park, that they did at the Friday noon concert, and that they did at a packed auditorium of summer singers and summer not. They were fantastic. The real thing that I would like to have you consider here is that each department has their budget. I understand that. Cuts may need to be made because maybe we're not meeting projections. These 75 kids were kids that I believe this could really change their lives. You are reaching kids with this program in the Parks Department that I think it would really matter to them, because I get all around the city and I see expensive programs. I know the parents with a lot of money that can send their kids to a lot of things. Could they maybe have cut it to 2 days a week? Could they maybe have increased the fees a little? When I asked Alicia this, she said that when they increased it to $30 for the summer, that they got pushback from some of the parents. My comment was, then you absolutely, I think, are probably reaching the parents that need this. If you get pushback for a program with that many hours that's $30, these are parents that apparently need this. These kind of programs, I was a single parent of 3 in a small town, and I will tell you it was programs like this that changed my children's lives. One of them has a 4-year degree, spent over 10 years in the Marine Corps, traveled the world as a private contractor because he got headhunted back from the government and is now here in Sioux Falls with his wife and 2 children. One of them has a law degree and works for the Department of Defense. Each of these had some kind of program that made this world bigger for them, that encouraged them. I have a daughter with a 4-year degree that's an education curator down at the Marine Cove Aquarium and again, it was one of those programs, and I would seriously like you to consider maybe going back to the Parks Department. I know we have to water the grass. I know we have to light the trees at Falls Park. If we could maybe reconsider this program, I would please like you to maybe just try, because I heard it wasn't quite a done deal, but Alicia told me apparently it kind of is. I asked her if there was any other program like this in the Parks Department, and she said there was not. And I have a 10-year-old granddaughter who's pretty disappointed. I said, honey, what do you want me to do? And she said, can you go down and talk to him? What you don't do for your grandgirls, your grandkids. And again, I want to really emphasize, the parents I saw there and the kids I saw there, I think you were really reaching the right echelon of who you wanted to really reach with these park programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Pat Tabor, and first I wish to state I appreciate the efforts and hard work the city does in clearing the city streets of snow and ice. It is not an easy job. Today I'm here to voice my disappointment about the use of the snow gates, or should I say the lack of their use, the accountability of their use in my neighborhood, which is Whispering Woods in southeastern Sioux Falls. Yesterday morning, 2 snow plows came down my southwestern Avenue Street about 6:30 in the morning. First heading north, I witnessed the use of the snow gate once across the street from my property. I did not continue to watch them as they proceeded around the corner, as I needed to finish clearing my own driveway before heading into work. I had just finished clearing the snow from my double driveway and had put my snowblower back in my garage when the 2 plows came back around the street heading south. The second plow, which had a snow gate, did not use the snow gate. He pushed this pile of snow onto the end of my driveway and those of my neighbors. I pointed at the pile, and he just shrugged his shoulders and kept on going. My question is, why was the snow gate not used? I understand snow gates will not alleviate the snow entirely, but they do help when used. I understand that there was a learning curve, so to speak, when they first were used, but I doubt that this was the case yesterday. The drivers simply did not use it. I wish I had used my phone's video camera to demonstrate the lack of the snow gate. I did take one picture and I sent it to Mark Cotter, the Director of Public Works, and to City Councilor Teresa Steele. They both followed up with me, which I also appreciated. This past winter, I can say I did not have a single good experience with the end of my driveway appearing to have less snow on it after the city plows cleared the street. Unfortunately, I did not witness these prior plowings. I did not complain, as I was not certain if someone else had plowed the street, and since I live in Lincoln County, being south of 57th Street, I was not certain the snow gates were available on Lincoln County plows. I was informed the city plows do the plowing in my neighborhood, and they should have been using the snow gates. I question the accountability of their use. The city purchased the snow gates. Now let's use them consistently. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Welcome.
Hi, Liz Meilenberg, citizen for over 43 years in this beautiful town. I want to step forward and thank each of you for serving the public on the City Council. It's greatly appreciated. To be rightly done, this service requires much more time than for which each of you are compensated. It also requires a great deal of cross-fact-checking and personal investigation into many varied topics so as to be rightly informed. The third requirement for your job to be well done is first and foremost your obligation to always support the average citizen, the one who chose to live and work in Sioux Falls as well as invest his life savings in a home in our city. This is the citizen who faithfully pays his taxes and financially supports this city. Sadly, 7 of you threw the average taxpayer under the bridge at the last council meeting. That community of homeowners close to 85th Street asked you to protect their homes, their lifelong investment, and 7 of you chose to support big business instead. Big business could have easily compensated and accommodated them, but alas, your concern was not for the average citizen, all of whom financially support this city. Without the average citizen, big business will go elsewhere. I know not a single person who lives in that area, but what I do know is I and many other alert citizens will not support anyone for office or re-election who places big business in front of the average citizen. Thank you.
Folks, is there anybody else who want to engage the council? Welcome.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. I want you to know I'm not running for mayor, so I'm sure that probably makes a few of you relieved. Anyway, on the topic of snow gates, they've always used them on my driveway, but this last snowstorm they did not. And you know, I know that there's some people in the room that from Public Works like to argue with that, but it doesn't take an expert to go, the windrow is this tall on your curb, and the windrow is this tall on your driveway, and the windrow is this tall on your curb. And since the windrow is all the same height, that means they didn't use a snow gate. It doesn't take a scientist to figure that out. Anyway, my thing is that you hear about this, like sometimes they use them and sometimes they don't. And I never been able to figure this out. I was watching a CityLink show today, and the guest on the show said they couldn't believe how many people call in and complain when they're not being used. Why don't they just go out there and scoop it out themselves? Or why don't they just go sweep the street themselves instead of waiting for the city to do it? Well, for number one, we pay for the service. And then this person also said that we get it done so fast. That's what's so great about it. Well, I didn't know government was on a time limit. It's like this public input, how we got to cut it off all the time. There's too many people talking. Since when does government have a time limit? When is this a race? What, is this a race every night we come here to meet? We've got to hurry up and get done? Where are you going? Go home, watch the news. They replay it on their website. You can watch all the stories later. But I had an idea. You know, when I'm speeding and I get caught by the cops, I get a ticket because it's against the law. If I don't scoop the sidewalks, the city comes out and scoops them for me and charges me for it and gives me a ticket because it's against city ordinance. Using snow gates is a city ordinance. It was passed by the citizens. So why not we give tickets to the snowplow operators who basically choose just not to use them? Now I know there's cases where they can't use them and the snow's too heavy, and we know those cases. But if they just choose not to use them, the cop that's out ticketing the cars in the street, you know, no more people will get tickets. Why didn't the cop just go up and give the snowplow operator a ticket? Maybe this is the way to train them in how to use snow gates. Since I got a little time left, I'd like to talk about the audit meeting Monday night, yesterday afternoon, and how we chose we're not going to do any audit with the city website and what kind of searches are being done. Because it's just going to take too much time. You know, the thing about that is that one of the counselors even mentioned using Google Analytics. Wouldn't the city want to know who's searching the city website, from what parts of the country and the world, and for what reasons? Wouldn't this be very valuable information? You know, we talk about, we give millions of dollars away in the city to these different nonprofits to study workforce development, but we can't use a simple software program to actually do analytics on our website to see who's coming and looking what's going on. You want to know why that we don't want to do it? because we hate transparency.
Welcome.
Bruce Danielson. First off, I'd like to say I agree. I've actually lodged one of those complaints about snow gates, and I was promptly informed that I was wrong, that snow gates had to have been used there. But after having both gone to the meeting where the street department talked about snow gates, and this morning, or yesterday morning, I had to go to a house and dig out a driveway so that I could help somebody go to the emergency room. They were having a heart issue, and they needed to get to and they got high centered on the ridge. I dug that ridge out, and I do know that no snow gate hit that one. Now, up the street and different places, yes, there were. But I was helping two disabled people try to get to an emergency room, and the snow gate weren't used. And I also wanted to say that Joe Sneevy did a fun little piece this weekend, and it kind of fits into several things that are going to be talked about tonight. And I want to ask first off, during the vote on the things that came from the consent agenda, will the public be able to speak during those periods? Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Dennison, continue your.
I'm asking a question. Yeah. If we can speak during that.
We don't answer questions or debate the
okay, so then I will come up during that time period and speak whether you want us there or not.
Continue,
okay?
Mr. Dennison.
So, and see, this fits actually with what Joe Sneevy put in his article. Is we have the 5 minutes that some people on this board say they'll never get back again. And so they put up with us, they tolerate us, they beat us, they do whatever they have to cause us damage. And then we get this kind of a response that I've just now had. I ask a simple question, it could have been answered, and it could have been a lot better tonight. Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Once again, my name is Stephen Ciano. I am a homeless, disabled veteran, both physically and mentally, with documented, confirmed, on the mental side with PTSD and delusional disorder, and this is being covered up in order to hopefully kill me, apparently. And city entities, I'm charging attempted murder here. Through deprivation of my needs, city entities are supporting this attack on me led by the VA because I am blacklisted because the nature of my disability stems from misconduct in the military, which caused my early departure, consequent to a breakdown and hospitalization. That has been covered up for nearly 40 years now. I've been homeless in multiple states. I am presently in your jurisdiction. It's my understanding, now I welcomed you last time I came here to let me know if I am mistaken in this perception, but I understand that it is the duty of the locals to take this on in a legal aspect because it is a discriminatory attack on me, depriving me of reasonable accommodations consequent to my actual disability, whereby my actual disabilities, physical and mental, are being concealed in this VA-led assault or attempted murder of me. And it can be easily resolved, I would think, with a little bit of positive action on the part of Ms. Moran, the city attorney, and Falls Community Health. People have refused to obtain records, which is essential. Records are essential to everything. If you don't have the facts, you cannot act. So everyone's covering for one another. I also see a relative problem with other mentally ill and veterans have been killed, as I have shared with others. I've gone to Washington with this. but I do feel that the locals should be doing something about it. Now, if, as I've said before, as Mayor Euther, you just told a person before me that you don't answer questions here, but you did, I did put it to the council before that you can let me know if I am mistaken in my presumption that it is the responsibility of the city attorney to act positively in cases of life-threatening discrimination against a disabled person for the disability and the beliefs. It is my personal beliefs which are also under attack. I am not a Christian, as apparently you people are, but that is fine. But I was attacked for my beliefs in the military. I was labeled homosexual, so that becomes an issue as well. And this was apparently a death sentence in the military, and because they want to cover for each other. Now, also involved is the disability industry, the mental health industry, the medical industry, people in the various related industries are all going along for the ride, covering up, pretending like, as they have declared me delusional upon presentation of proof of confirmed PTSD in 2004. This is a crime. This is using such a known false declaration of diagnosis, mental health diagnosis, in order to discredit me and in order to continue an assault lodged mainly upon with or through deprivation of my needs consequent to such misrepresentation of the facts. We need to face the facts and act on that. And we need to obtain the facts, as I'm saying, in Falls Community Health. Let them get the documentation, the actual records that show that, yes, indeed, as I have been claiming for nearly 40 years, my disability, the mental part, is emotional and social. I am not detached from reality, and what I'm presenting is truth. And Mayor Euther, you...
Ms. Sienna, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Folks, is there anybody else who wants to engage the council? Welcome.
Sierra Broussard, Sioux Falls. So, Mayor, I want to remind you before I get started again, on last Tuesday, you said to address the council as a whole. This has nothing to do with council. The city attorney's office had promoted the discrimination ordinance, and they pulled out of it because of the lawsuit with the state. Marty Jackley had taken the lawsuit out of the state. So we asked, with all these advocates that were sitting here last year, to put it back on the table. Now, since the lawsuit is taken out, the city attorney needs to put it back on this table. Mayor, it's a slap in the transgender community's face. I sat here and I did public input for a reason, because the mayor does not let you talk to him in his office, so you have to come here and expose everything in the public. I acknowledged and I accept that you cannot stand me, which was an Argus leader, and I get that. But this transgenderism stuff and this LGBT stuff, I grant you, as I'm sitting here right here, I want to put it back on the table, and I want council to get in a vote. This is like a slap in the transgenderism's face, what they did last year. Mayor, this is what's going to bring the anger and the anger in the LGBT community is if they keep saying, oh no, we have an excuse. Oh, the state has a lawsuit. This is going on and this is going on, and they're dodging the LGBT community, Mayor. So I'm asking you, Mayor, because the city attorney is under you, to put this back, language it right professionally, and put it back on the table. I will not be upset if it was voted no against it or yes for it. It was the simple fact that it should have been dealt with last year on a professional level. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Very good. Thank you very much. let's see, we'll go to, you want to do it after 9? Is that okay, Council Chair? Okay. Item number 3, please.
Item 3 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 95, Parks and Recreation, Subchapter Fees.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Alicia Luther, Recreation Manager with the City of Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation Department. We will be going over the updates that we are proposing for Chapter 95 for the fee ordinance this evening. So as an overview, what we've discussed previously is that these are basic updates. We are not proposing any rate changes. And so with that, what we are proposing is that we are going to be changing the definition for the annual aquatic season pass, adding a veteran season pass, and then also adding a veteran annual pass. So with the definitions, the changes that we are proposing would make the annual aquatic season effective when you purchase your season pass for the annual pass, that it would be effective from the date of purchase for one 12-month period. As I've stated before, this is something that the general public has commented on. They would like to see this change, and as we've lived the pass structure, we feel that this change would be beneficial to serve and provide the most value to our passes. The other definition that we would like to add would be the veteran definition that currently is not in the ordinance, and so we would like to add that and have the basic definition be an individual who has or is currently serving in the United States military and must provide documentation of service, such as a military ID. And this definition, again, would be added because currently it is not in the definition section. In addition, as I had stated before, we would like to add the veteran annual season pass. Currently, we do have a veteran discounted pass for the fall, winter, spring, and also for the summer, but we are missing that veteran annual pass. And so this is another pass that has been requested by the public, and we agree that this is one that should be added to our pass system. And so that is the other change that we would be proposing. And then just as a refresher for the timeline, we did take this to the Parks and Recreation Board on February 21st. They did recommend that we bring it to the City Council for approval. February 28th, we were here for the informational. We were here again last week, and now we're here this week for the second reading. And again, for the timeline purposes, we were hoping that we would have this passed and ready to go by April 7th, so that when all of the season passes do expire on April 30th, we'll be ready to go with this new pass.
Alicia, thank you. Folks, this is a second reading, so you have the opportunity to engage the council on this topic. Would anybody be interested? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erickson.
And second, Rolfing.
Councilor Erickson's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Council Chair Rolfing. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item 4, please.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations, engineering $1,125,000, and police $14,000.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is the second reading. Andy Berg did the presentation at the first reading. This allows us to take those funds from the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the $1.125 million, apply those to funds that we have on hand and do about a $2.5 million flood improvement project yet this year. And I know, too, there's an item on here for police, and I'll let them speak to that.
Thanks, Mark. Welcome.
Captain Rich Miller with the Police Department. We're just looking for the approval on the second reading for the grant for $14,000 through the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals for a trailer that we would use to respond to disasters to help house animals and make sure they're fed and get proper care.
Thank you both for your comments. Appreciate it. Folks, again, second reading. Did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors?
Move to approve, Neitzer.
Second. Councilor Neitzer's made a motion to approve this item, second by Councilor Staley. Thank you both. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, councilors. Item 8, please.
Item 8, a resolution amending the 2017-2021 capital program, Public Works Engineering, $1.125 million, and Police, $26,000.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This resolution does two things. First of all, it amends the capital plan consistent with the supplemental budget appropriation ordinance that you just approved. And then the second thing is it does add to the capital plan the addition of a K-9 unit for the police department. That does not require additional appropriations, but it is a change to the plan. And I know the police department does have a presentation to give on that. So,
thank you. Welcome.
We're just looking for the reallocation of OSEP funds for the purchase of a dog to replace one of the dogs in our K-9 program. The dog in question for replacement would be the third photo there, K-9 Max, who's served us well, but has just kind of reached the end of his service life for us. Just briefly on our K-9 program, all our dogs are dual-purpose K-9 teams. They're trained both narcotics detection and patrol work. Narcotics detection, in narcotics detection, they are trained to search for 7 different drug odors. Those include marijuana, cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, black tar heroin, mushrooms, and MDMA, which is ecstasy. Just to give you an idea how effective they are, last year alone, the K-9 program recovered 27.64 pounds of marijuana and 5.7 pounds of methamphetamine through searches. Patrol work use, they're used for suspect tracking, tactical wind scent tracking, open area searches, building searches, criminal apprehension, evidence article searches, searching for lost people, and also civic presentations that we do. Typical service life for one of our K-9s, our dual purpose ones, is 6 to 10 years. And that's dependent on the health of each animal and the abilities of the animals themselves. Continual training and repeated deployment takes a toll on the health of the dog over time. K-9 Max is 8 years old and should be replaced within a year. His narcotics work is still pretty good, but he's definitely slowed down on the patrol side, unfortunately. It's just a little harder for him to go through all the building searches and so forth that's required of him. They're an essential tool for the police department. Sioux Falls sees a significant amount of drug trafficking with the 2 interstates that run through our city. K-9 teams are a deterrent to criminal behavior, enhance officer safety when used to clear hazardous areas. The teams are a good community policing resource. Citizens generally support and admire the K-9 teams. Community presentations engage the community, enhance support for it. Cost for the new dog is $12,000 and it will be funded by savings from other police OSEP projects in 2017. Any questions?
Thank you, Councilor Stinley.
Two questions, well, a question and a comment. What's the difference between these dogs and the dog that was flown in from
And Councilor Staley, my apologies. My apologies. Folks, is there anybody in the audience wanting to speak to this item before I go to the council? My apologies. Anybody in the audience? Councilor Staley, my apologies. Continue,
okay,
please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The difference between these dogs and the dog that was flown in for the Copper Lounge collapse from Rapid City, what?
That kind of search dog is specific to search and rescue, like building collapses and so forth. The big difference, as I understand it, between it is when you're searching a building collapse, those dogs are walking over nails, items that could hurt them. There's holes and things like that, so they're specially trained to go over that type of terrain. Our dogs are not trained for that, and they're not also trained to search under those kind of items. Their specific training is more towards tracking of suspects, or missing people in kind of open air search type situations.
Would we ever look at getting a dog like that locally?
That'd be a question, I think, more for the fire department who does the search and rescue part of it. I don't know the aspects of how hard it is to get a dog or train
Okay, and then what's going to happen to Max?
Max, Officer Van Voorst, we give the officers the opportunity, since they've lived with the dogs and their family has, to take the dogs when they're done, and Officer Van Voorst has expressed that he will do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor
I
Sharon?
would move approval.
Thank you.
And as long as they don't name the next one Rex.
Thanks, that's good. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion to approve this item with conditions. No. Councilor Erickson seconded that. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. That has passed 8-0. Item 5, please.
Item 5 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 96, Streets and Sidewalk, Subchapter Sidewalk and Driveway Approach Construction.
Welcome.
Good evening. Shannon Burhay from the Engineering Division. And I'm here to give you an overview of the proposed changes to the Sidewalk Ordinance, Chapter 96. And the first one, 96051, we are clarifying the specification and supervision requirements, that those are done under the supervision of the city engineer. And 96052 and 96053, there we're clarifying the permit approval and inspection requirements. And like we talked about in the informational today, basically on the permit side of things, we're clarifying that if you have a building permit, that it already covers the sidewalk and driveway approach permit, that you don't have to get separate permits. And then also on the inspection side of things, we're asking that when contractors install sidewalks or driveway approaches within the public right-of-way, that they have to call for an inspection within 2 days. Very similar like a building permit for like your mechanical or your plumbing. Just have to call so we can make an inspection. And then we also deleted some redundant sections in 9651, 96055, and 96057. And then from a timeline, this is part of the package with the accessible sidewalk requirements. So this week's first reading of the sidewalk ordinance for Chapter 96, and then next week you'll be voting on the second reading, and then also the engineering design standards resolution. And then April 14th is when those would both go into effect. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Shannon, thank you. Councilors, Councilor Staley.
Shannon, first of all, I'm on the Land Use Committee, and I want to say thank you for your responsiveness. And this has been vetted through a group of us for several different meetings now. And I just wanted the public to hear as well that we've got the driveway situation that would be for new residences that would be 5 feet wide to allow for wheelchair accessibility, but also just to let the public know that if that would, a contractor doesn't know that, they will be allowed to replace a piece of the sidewalk so that it's 5 feet wide. So it's going to be very user-friendly, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Staley, do you want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 21st for this item?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second, Selberg.
Seconded by Councilor Selberg. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, councilors. Item number 6.
Is a first reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its health facilities revenue bonds, Dow Rummel Village Project, Series 2017, in an original aggregate principal amount not to exceed $37 million for the purpose of providing funds to be loaned to Dow Rummel Village, a South Dakota nonprofit corporation, for the purpose of financing a renovation and expansion project, approving the form of and authorizing the execution and delivery of a first supplemental indenture of trust, a first supplemental loan agreement, a first supplement to amended and restated mortgage, 180-day redemption security agreement and fixture financing statement, a bond purchase agreement, a continuing disclosure agreement, and a tax regulatory agreement approving the form of and authorizing the execution and delivery of the bonds and certain related documents, making certain findings and determinations with respect to the bonds, and providing for the security rights and remedies of the holders of the bonds.
Tracy, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Tracy Turback with the Finance Office. Item 6 and item 7 do go together. Item 6 is the first reading, as the clerk just read, of the bond ordinance, and item 7 is a public hearing that's required as part of this. This is an ordinance that would authorize the city to facilitate a conduit debt financing for Dalrymple Village. I know there are several members of the Dalrymple finance team here that I'm sure will address the council as part of the public hearing. But with that, I would ask that you set the date of hearing and date for second reading. Thank you.
Tracy, thank you. Council, would anybody want to set that date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 21st?
So moved, Rolfing. Second, Starr.
Councilor Chair Rolfing has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Starr. Thank you both. Yes, Councilor Staley?
Can we ask a question?
You bet.
Yeah. Tracy Turbeck, would you come up, please? I had an opportunity yesterday to talk with our Minnehaha County Auditor, Bob Litz, about just their experience with this conduit financing. And he mentioned making sure that we protect the the $10 million bank qualified financing. Is that going to be involved with this at all? That apparently the city has. That's a special.
Yeah, in the case of the city, that really doesn't apply. Will not be a factor in this instance.
Okay, and then also he said that in the past this county has charged up to $5,000 for like an administrative fee. Would you tell us what you think the fee is going to be for this transaction?
The city council adopted a fee schedule or fee formula some years ago. And based on the size of this issuance, which is proposed at not to exceed $37 million, the city's fee would be $4,100 plus reimbursement of our out-of-pocket costs for legal publications.
And just for the public record here, this will not affect any credit rating of the city, our ability to borrow in the future, and that apparently we can do a number of these moving forward. There's really not a limit to what we could do to facilitate other nonprofits in this conduit financing.
That is correct.
All of those are correct. Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erfenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. That has passed 8-0. Would you read the public hearing verbiage, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Item 7 is a public hearing for public input regarding the proposal to issue revenue bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $37 million, the bonds pursuant to South Dakota Codified Laws, Chapter 9-54, as amended, the Act, in order to finance a project on behalf of Dalrymple Village, a South Dakota nonprofit corporation formerly known as Rummel Memorial Home, Inc., the corporation, which operates nursing home, health care, and housing facilities for the elderly in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Thank you very much. We'll now commence that public hearing as was stated into the record. Did anyone want to speak on behalf of this particular topic? Very good. Thank you very much for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Item number 9.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional architectural and engineering design services agreement between the city and JLG Architects for the parking ramp to be located at 10th Street and Mall Avenue, along with other documents, amendments, change orders, or other instruments as may be deemed necessary and appropriate, consistent with the terms of the agreement.
Brent, welcome.
Thank you. Brent O'Neill with the Economic Development Office. Here to talk about item 9, and then I understand the items that were pulled off the consent agenda would immediately follow. So myself and Matt Nelson will be primarily addressing these items. Darren Ketchum from our office is here as well. And then on this architect agreement, Dave Van Nieuwhuizen and Craig Martin are here as well, if that serves the council well to speak with them. Following up from our meeting 2 weeks ago with the informational item on the ramp project, I just wanted to give a quick executive summary and then move to questions. This first slide here, 3 columns, kind of tells you where we've been and then where we want to be. And tonight is the bridge that gets us from the past to the future. What's been done, we have done demand analysis throughout the last several years. We've now focused on our site, 110 East Mall Avenue. The project team has been identified, ourselves as a lead owner, Legacy Development as a partner owner, JLG Architects, and Journey Construction. And then we've identified elements of a preliminary program, again, the number of parking spaces in that 400 to 550 range, that partnership with a private entity, and truly forming a public-private partnership with first floor commercial and retail space, and then an opportunity to construct a podium type ramp that would allow private uses to be built on top of that structure. Tonight's request on the architect's contract and the following contracts is really to get us through the next stage and being able to define the project and truly have it well scoped out for the council to make a decision in May. So through tonight's contract, we'll get a schematic design in coordination with a private partner, and we'll be able to establish the budget and the proposed means of financing. So what is ahead is a presentation in May after we get through this step, detailing out a more refined program, having drawings and renderings for you, presenting that budget, and then giving you the components of the mixed-use project, including the terms with the developer. And at that time, we'd ask the council to consider approval of the full project. That would mean setting the budget, appropriating the funding sources, considering the public-private arrangement with our private partner, and then advancing the construction manager agreement through the construction stage. As I mentioned, JLG is the architect that the city has selected to work with, and what we're discussing is the agreement that would engage their services to help us design this project. We've based that agreement on a standard industry document, the AIA document B103, which is a common practice in this type of project. Of course, modified and negotiated relative to this project. To break it down, it's going to occur in two phases, and the entire contract is before you tonight. The phase one part of that contract is what gets us to that May consideration of the council. That would be a lump sum fee of $150,000. It would allow us to finalize our program and get through 100% of schematic design. We would also be coordinating with a private developer and their work with this architect as well, and that is handled by separate contract between Legacy Developments and JLG. Phase two really advances those design documents, and those are contingent on getting through that approval step in May. After May, those phase two services would advance our construction documents and get us all the way to the bid point and then the point where we can actually construct the facility. So with that, I'm going to pause on this item and wait for any questions.
Okay, very good. Brent, thank you very much. Folks, this is a great opportunity for you to engage the council on this topic. If you do have some questions or concerns, Mr. Dennison, I would highly recommend you come forward now if you do have those comments. Welcome.
Well, we're back at it again. I've been working on the Walker study, been reading it, trying to figure out what is actually of any value in a document that's now going on 4 years old. 3 years ago, when it finally was published, they said it was a $9.4 million parking ramp they were going to put there. And now it's doubled in price to $18 million. We've got changes in needs in downtown. We've got Washington Square that's actually building a parking ramp as part of their building. They didn't come here to get money. We've got the railroad relocation project that we really need to get parking figured out how that's going to be. If some major developer came in downtown and wanted to do something, why don't we have this money sitting in a pot ready to go to help that actually function over in the railroad relocation? That seems to be a pride and joy of certain individuals. We've got the Levitt Pavilion happening up on the north end of Phillips that there isn't much parking there to work with. We've got the admin building coming over here. And then now we've got the collapse downtown that's kind of changed the dynamics of what can actually be done down there. So like I said, here we go again. Another cart before the horse. And then to drop it into a consent agenda. A parking ramp before we have any of the answers to the important downtown disaster questions. We have an out-of-date ramp study. We have answers. We want answers. The funding was stopped several months ago so we could get answers. Just because a little money was spent does not require more to be spent. Last April, this body voted to stop all bond planning on the admin building until October 1st. This administration ignored the city council votes and moved forward without any real discussions as that vote required. I was in this chamber when that was brought up and that was voted on, and we agreed that October was important. But this administration did nothing. We got 6,400 signatures in 17 days in order to put the question before this body. And you can shake your head all you want up there, but the majority of this council wanted to be respected, and they weren't. Now we have a ramp being built, whether any of us like it or not. When do we get respect? Please vote to defer this project until we have some decisions, until we have some answers. Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to discuss this item with the council before I go to the councilors? Councilors? Councilor Erickson?
A couple questions, if I can. Probably Mr. Nelson, if you don't mind. I know that we're talking about first floor rental space. Tell me about how many places are going to be in there again.
How many places? You know, it depends on square footage. I believe we're estimating 15,000 square feet of retail that would be on the street level.
Okay.
15 to 17.
What rate would we're not just allowing them to build it and say good luck in your business. We're making them pay, correct?
Correct. Legally, if we wanted to, we could not give it away. Anything that we sell, we would sell at market value per state law, or enter into some type of lease agreement that would be comparable to purchase value. So we have legal requirements we do have to fill.
So on average, and maybe I saw Joe Batchelor here, so maybe he I'm sure you know as well, but what is the, if I may again, I'm sorry, I'm asking a couple questions here.
Go ahead.
What's the market rate for per square footage or per place? What are we approximately going to be bringing in for income for these spaces?
You know, depending on sale, it would be, like I said, market value. So we're going to sell it for the cost or the value. I would defer to someone else as far as like what a lease rate would be. I'm not an expert on that, but we would work with our developer to do that. We're not giving.
But my point is that we will be bringing in. We have anchor tenants, basically. We have people that will be renting those spaces to bring in.
The developer would rent this or purchase it, and they would rent or purchase it at market value.
Income to the city.
Correct. It would be income to the public parking system.
Okay, and then do we have to charge airspace or any of that? Is that on top of this, other than just that first floor as they continue to build up? How does that work?
So airspace is a little difficult in the state of South Dakota because we don't have a lot of comps, but anything that would be sold that would be an asset like airspace would likewise, like property, be sold at market value. So we would have that valued through an appraisal, which we are getting, and then we would sell it at that value. And those appraisals would be open for review, but we are legally obligated to do that.
Do that as well. Okay, thank you. I just wanted clarification on that, as I know that's been a concern. The question has come up, I will say, and so I want to make it very clear that this is an income that would be going into the coffers of the city and being able to be either paying down debt or whatever is chosen to do with it at that time. So thanks for answering those questions. I have a few more, but I'll refrain because I know there's others that have more.
Thank you. Councilor Urbanbach?
Thank you. First of all, for those of us not in the real estate business, can you explain what airspace is?
So airspace, when we build this facility, there will be a point, like a condominium, right, where above that space we would sell it. You know, the probably proper term under state law would be a condominium, right, that we would sell to them. But the airspace would be the space they would build on, or that area above our ramp. So it would be approximately 4 or 5 levels in the air, space that we would not use or see any value in. We'd be able to add that to the tax roll and put taxes back into the county, the city, and the school district, and we'd be able to collect revenue on that space from this developer.
Okay, so then explain to me, we're going to either rent or sell that space, that 15,000 square feet that's going to be used for retail. That money, this property is not, it's owned by the city, but it's inside the parking enterprise fund, correct? Will that money go into the general fund, or will it go into the parking fund?
It will go into the parking enterprise fund. We will use that revenue to assist in paying off the bond. And once the bond's paid off, it will be revenue or income for us.
Okay, and then one more, if I
Please.
might, Mr. Mayor. Just, would you remind us, I'm looking again at the first slide on Brett's presentation, demand analysis. Remind us, what is the demand for parking in this community at this time?
We've constantly seen an increase in demand. I know we've heard that the study is 3 to 4 years old, and yes, it is, and our situation has gotten significantly worse since that study was done. Everything that we've predicted in that study has happened. We are there. Our current demand is, we're at 100%. We are turning away customers at our parking facilities in the core of our town. So we cannot continue to sell parking to many of the vacant businesses or vacant office space that are in the core of our city.
Great, thank you.
Welcome. Council Vice Chair Conley.
I would like to request Joe Batchelor come forward so I could ask a question, please.
Joe.
Good evening. Thank you for coming up, Joe. Can you address the importance of having parking spaces and more parking spaces for a growing downtown, or not only our current businesses, but future businesses?
Sure, absolutely, my pleasure. This is an economic development issue. We have, I believe it's between 200 and 300,000 square feet of vacant office space in downtown. If you look at this particular block alone, there are, that figure could easily double with the development potential that's there. We have landowners that have expressed an interest to further develop their land. So that would be a key property downtown as well, particularly with its proximity to the river. So there's an immediate need in terms of the vacant floor space in downtown right now. There's an immediate need in terms of the proximity of developable space on that block. So it's very much an economic development issue.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And citizens, that's Joe Batchelor, who is in charge of downtown Sioux Falls. Thank you, Council Vice Chair Kiley. Yes, Councilor Starr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
Thank you, Matt, for helping us out here tonight. I'm trying to do a little bit of math because I'm going back to even the budget presentation and the presentation in January. At one point, we were still talking upwards of 600 to 650 spots. The presentation, and that was in January of 17. Now we're kind of looking at that 400 to 500 spots, and I'm doing the math in my head. There's 130 spots that we have to replace to build the ramp on top of, or roughly, is that correct? That's kind of in that. The partner has said to us when he met with us as counselors individually that he would need somewhere between 150, he would guarantee 150 spots they would use to possibly 200 plus. That takes us close to 300 that we're replacing in the whole thing to net out the possibility of 100 spaces for that $17 to $18 million that we keep tossing out. Is that a good use of the enterprise fund and the public parking, that this ramp would only net out somewhere between 100 and 150 spots?
I think we've got to look on it in a more global approach to this, and yet the answer is yes. When you look at this, it will be a mixed-use facility. When you look at our studies, you'll see that the public, and specifically the public City of Sioux Falls parking system, uses our parking more efficiently than the private side. We'll be able to do this on that site. So one of the things is this is a mixed use, so we're looking at residential, potentially hotels, some retail. So the retail space will have separate hourly parking that will serve all of downtown. The parking for residential and hotel, anything there is typically used at night. So we're allowed to, or we're able to oversell. So we've got someone that may be paying to use at night or use for a very small portion of the day from, let's say, 3 to 5 p.m., and then they come in and they stay there. And we'll be able to sell it to the office tenants during the day. So we're able to sell it and use it more efficiently, and actually it's a great revenue model for us to collect additional revenue and use it to a really high occupancy percent.
I want to, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Councilor Starr, go right ahead.
I want to talk, because tonight we're talking specifically about the contract for JLG and the architect services. The contract tonight, you've mentioned, or Brent did, or Mr. O'Neill did as part of the presentation, that $150,000 is what we're approving tonight for the agreement. But when you read the agreement, it's not just for the beginning part, it's the entire contract through, is my understanding of the contract. So it's about $1 million contract that we're approving tonight. If it's 150 for the structure to get the drawings and to get us to a point of knowing what we're going to build, how many spots, and moving that forward, will you come back to the council for approval for the architectural services, or are we moving down that road and we're approving the whole thing at this point?
So you are approving the entire contract, but the first phase of that contract we would move forward with now. The second phase, which would be the blueprints and the final designs, would require council approval. We will not bring that contract back and specifically say, oh, we've got the contract, approve phase 2, but there are stipulations specifically in there. There's multiple stipulations. One of those stipulations is the approval of the bonds. So until the bonds are approved, we cannot move on to the second phase of this contract.
That's it for me.
But Matt, explain that to Councilor Starr again and the people of Sioux Falls, because I think the question that Councilor Starr is asking, and it's a legitimate one, is will the council have the opportunity to provide additional input, provide some additional control, I don't know if that's a good word or a bad word, before you move forward? So help Councilor Starr and the rest of the citizens understand that, please.
Absolutely. We're always available to talk and work on projects, but specifically on this item, we will require the approval of the bonds before we can move forward with phase 2 of the design.
And the approval of the bonds is by who?
Is by the City Council.
Councilor Starr?
Which we're doing later, or we're starting that process later tonight.
Very good. Thank you. Councilor Starr, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
For
good
this
job.
point,
Thank
I
you.
want to give
No, good
everybody an
job. Good job.
opportunity.
Good job. Thank you. Councilor Staley.
Well, I have grave concerns about this moving forward. And first of all, I want to say that I appreciate the work of our paid city staff, and I know Councilor Erickson was involved with this, choosing the developer to go forward with this project. But I have concerns, and I have concerns for our taxpayers on this. The first, and I have 3 concerns I want to state right now. The first concern I have is the ongoing OSHA investigation of the legacy development. And I understand that they said it might take 6 months before they would come up with a finding on that. I believe it would be prudent for us in our community to wait until the air has cleared on that and we know the findings of that before we go into a partnership with them. And I'm sure they're fine individuals. I know Matt, you and I had a conversation about that, but I have questions about this. And I have questions that there could be civil litigation after the fact if their findings go in the wrong way, and we're going to be binding the citizens together with this company. Secondly, I have requested the names of the investors in legacy development. We are going to be, again, binding ourselves together with this company. It's a ramp that's going to be wrapped around with a multi-use purpose, and it's a unique experience here. So if we're going to be holding hands with this company, I think we have a right in our community to know who we're doing business with. And I've been told we cannot have the names of those investors. I find that problematic. And my third problem I have with this is that we are talking about using the second penny as collateral. I understand it's user fees. We're going to be trying to support this thing from the parking revenue of leases. But if for some reason that does not come through, then we're going to fall back on the second penny. And I am committed to protecting that second penny. We use it to prop up the services for our citizens. We've been borrowing against it for entertainment venues and all sorts of things. It's time now to protect that. So I'm not prepared to go forth with anything that's going to be using that as collateral. So I would like to right now propose a motion to defer item 9 to Tuesday, June 20th, to the regular meeting until the OSHA investigation has been finalized, and then we can come and look at this with fresh eyes. So motion to defer item 9 to Tuesday, June 20th.
Second, Starr.
There's been a motion to defer this item till Tuesday, June June 20th. It's been seconded by Councilor Starr. Any further discussion, Councilor Staley?
No.
Councilor Starr?
No.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg,
No.
Starr,
No.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
No.
Erpenbach,
No.
Kylie,
No.
Nitzert,
No.
Rolfing.
No.
That has failed 1-7. Council, would anybody want to make a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Rolfing.
Second, Selberg.
Council Chair has made that motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Selberg. Is there any further discussion? Before I go to you, Councilor Starr, Councilor Nitzert?
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Go right ahead, sir.
So just for the citizens, just to understand where I'm coming from, the reason I supported pulling out the bonding in the CIP was because I just didn't have enough information at the time. We were new to the council and I didn't want to implicitly green light something that I didn't have enough information. This will allow the administration to do that due diligence. You've got to get a schematic design with that. Without that, you don't have a real price tag. You just have generic numbers. So it's not fair to me to say I need more information, but then when it comes forward, say I'm not going to let you spend the money to get that done. We need this to have a real solid plan to vote on.
Before I go back to Councilor Starr, anybody else? Councilor Starr?
Absolutely. I guess my main concern tonight, and it's not directed towards anybody, but I agree with Councilor Nitzert. We have to get to a point where we know the schematics, we know the cost, we know the actual size, so we can have an up or down vote as a council. We haven't done that yet. We haven't approved this project. My concern is when you bring us a contract that starts out with the $150,000 for the schematic design, and you're asking us to approve the rest of the contract like we're going ahead and moving forward with this. Takes us out of the decision-making process. I totally understand that we're trying to push this through as quickly as we can and eliminate steps and check boxes off so we can start building as early as August and September. I know that's the goal, but I'm concerned when the two things are separate. I think it's something that we could do separately. I think we should have had a contract for the schematics alone. That's what we agreed to as part of the budget hearing, and I'm going to have to vote no on this because of that. So not necessarily the project, not figuring out how much it is. You know, I think as a community, we're going to have a conversation about whether netting out 100 or 150 parking spots on this is good and the whole thing. But to speak specifically to the JLG contract, I'm not going to be able to support it tonight.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. I just want to talk, just step back a moment of how we've kind of come to this. We started the process with an RFP. I sat on that process. We, as a committee, unanimously selected a developer. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as things started moving forward. As a group, we decided to kind of cut back and discuss what is the intent amongst what you all had discussed as well. So as a group, there was citizens, there was downtown business leaders, downtown Sioux Falls representation. I was on it, as well as I know Mike Cooper, Don Kearney. I mean, there was a lot of people on this area. So we talked about an RFQ. So an RFQ was then given out, and that was really a request for qualifications. And so we weren't selecting a project. Now, of course, each dreamer has their ideas of what they want to see. And of those people that brought projects forward, we were really discussing, can you get this project done? What are your means to get this project done? What does it mean for you? What are your ideas? We were looking at those qualifications and relationships that they had. And unanimously, this group selected the group and we decided to go forward. So this process has been going on a long time. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. I respect the counselors that have questions on it. I understand that. I did walk through the process and sat across the table from Walker and had them talk to us about the needs. To have someone already automatically say, hey, I'm going to lease 150 spots, that's a great business deal. I mean, that's a really nice deal to already have someone lease 150 spots for you, and it's automatic. automatic revenue for that as well. So I just want to share kind of some of the changes of how we've gotten here, and I respect everybody's opinion on it because I've had questions too, and appreciate the department's entertaining my questions and helping me feel okay with some of this as well. So I just hope that you approve this tonight as we move forward, and we can continue to have these conversations with the next steps that we get through. And I'm hopeful for those schematic designs and seeing where we come to next. So thank you.
Councilor Kiley.
As Mr. Batchelor had stated, this is an economic development issue, and I truly support that. I also support this resolution so that we can get the additional information so that we can make informed decisions in the future. So I do support this resolution. Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
No.
Staley?
No.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 6-2. Folks, we are now going to go to the three items that Councilor Staley asked to be pulled from the consent agenda. Councilor Staley, any questions, comments?
I guess the comments, the same comments I said before. I'm not going to be able to support any of this moving forward.
Very good. Would anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I would move to approve all three together as one package.
Thank you, Councilor. That has been a motion to approve these three items has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
No.
Staley?
No.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 6-2. Thank you, Council. Item 10.
A resolution appointing members of the Districting Commission. And if I may, Mr. Mayor, read those names.
Please, thank you.
James Fry, Jason Wieringa, Mark Millage, Jeffrey Eckhoff, and Dara Ellefson.
Tom,
Mr.
welcome.
Mayor,
Good to be here.
Tom Greco, City Clerk. Yes, Denise mentioned the names. Just wanted to mention that each one of these are individually qualified in accordance with the charter, and the group as a whole also meets the qualifications of the charter. So we're looking forward to, pending your approval, getting to work the week of April 10th, hopefully.
Tom, are there any of these members in the audience tonight?
Yes, so Deborah Ellison and Jeffrey Eckhoff.
Very good. And if the camera can pan over there, because we're not paying these folks anything, are we?
No.
That's what I thought. So Sioux Falls, those two folks right there are doing this because they want to be good stewards and they care about our city. So we got you on camera. Thank you. Did anybody want to speak to this item? Very good. Councilors?
Move to approve Erickson.
Councilor Erickson has been a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Councilor Erpenbach.
I just wanted to thank Tom for your work on this. You made it very easy for us to make this selection. You're very, very clean, very fair process, and I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Councilors, thank you. That is passed 8-0. Would anybody want to make a motion to get out of here?
So moved.
Councilor?
Second.
Councilor Bach has made that motion. I did hear Councilor Chair Rolfing jump in ahead of you, Councilor Erickson. Yes, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls, make it a great, great night.